As many of you know, I served in the IF Regiment in World War II, spending 4 years in the Far East. While serving in Burma, I volunteered to go on patrol with the Gurkhas, that fine brigade of soldiers who come from Nepal and serve as part of the British Army. And they left an impression on me that has lasted over 60 years. The country has a population of 26 million with 10% disabled. It is a very poor country and is, in fact, ranked the 4th poorest in the world. Last month, I made the incredibly long journey to Nepal to visit the far western region, where we hope to build a rehabilitation centre for disabled children. People told me I shouldn't be making this trip at 84 years old. Most people my age spend a couple of hours at a day centre or being taken to a park to get some sun, but not me. I got on a plane to Nepal, which was a very long flight, 18 hours in all. But maybe this was because we got held up by roadworks in Watford High Street. As you can see, we risked our life and limb flying by helicopter from the capital Kathmandu to Menahanaganagar, which is too far away to get to by road. I have to tell you, it was a very hazardous journey as the area is very mountainous. Nepal is, of course, home to Mount Everest, the highest point on Earth. It took us 3 hours, and there were many times I thought we were going to fly into the sides of a mountain. The hazardous nature of this trip was all too sadly illustrated when on a similar trip a helicopter crashed, killing all 22 passengers on board. Luckily, I didn't know about this until after our trip, so I felt safe enough to have a quick nap. Once we arrived in the area, I got a chance to meet some of the children that so desperately need our help. There are nearly 1,000 disabled people living in this region, many of them children. At present, there are no real facilities, and obviously, they don't have the luxury of a helicopter to take them to the areas where they could receive treatment. Here I am meeting the children who have a range of disabilities, some of whom have walked for 50 miles to reach the area. The country might be poor, but as you can see, they keep on smiling despite their disabilities. I met children who lost their arms or legs as a result of stepping on landmines that had been left over from the recent civil unrest. I also met children with cerebral palsy, broken backs, club feet, burns, head injuries, polio and cancer. They also suffer from one of the biggest diseases of all, poverty. I couldn't believe there were still children with these kinds of disabilities who are unable to get any help in this day and age. We think of ourselves as an enlightened people, and yet there are children who so desperately need artificial limbs, physiotherapy and a general medical attention. With more money, there is much more that can be achieved. Handicap International, one of the only aid agencies in Nepal, is working with the Nepal National Social Welfare Council and has asked the Philip Green Memorial Trust to build a centre here to provide a unit with proper facilities. Once built, the centre will offer all these services and will also train Nepalese workers in physiotherapy. But it would be better to bring experts from India, and this too costs money. They will also provide community workers to give therapy in patients' homes in the villages and teach the disabled children and their carers to give therapy themselves. Education will also form a big part of their work, as many of the children are disabled because of accidents such as falling from trees, getting burnt in open fires, etc. By teaching the children and their families how to avoid such accidents, the number of disabilities will be drastically cut over the next few years. In all, it is expected that the centre will look after 1,300 patients a year, and I hope that in the future we will be able to build more centres in other remote areas of the country. As you can see, I got the opportunity of seeing the land where the centre will be built. With your help, the next time we see this land, there will be a thriving treatment centre on it. Whilst in this area, I also took the opportunity to visit Mrs. Meena Bandirai, who looks after 5 disabled children. These children have severe disabilities. One little girl is autistic and deaf and dumb and blind. They are all orphaned or abandoned by their families who just don't have the money to cope with the additional burden of a disabled child. Mrs. Banderai does all this with no income other than that which her husband brings in as a house painter. She also has 3 of her own children, but does not differentiate between her children. She works from 4 a.m. until 10 p.m, feeding, changing, washing soiled nappies, etc. The children range from 5 to 8 years old, but they appear much younger as none of them can speak or do anything for themselves. They spend all day in their cots. What a tragedy in this day and age. I hope that you will all dig deep this evening so that we can help Mrs. Banderai by making a regular donation to her. I saw many more cases like this one, so we hope to be able to help more children in the future. I want to assure you, however, that we will continue to support charities in the UK in addition to Nepal. We never forget our own tragic stories. I have been told that during World War II, the British government asked the Nepalese Prime Minister if he would send troops. The reply was, "Would we let down our friends in the hour of their greatest need?"